Does your child have strong emotions, both positive and negative? Is your child an early riser? Does your child wake up in the middle of the night? You may have a spirited child. What's up, I'm Shanice and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we'll be exploring the characteristics and traits of a spirited child. So the term actually comes from the book Raising Your Spirited Child by Mary Kurchinka. And I had heard about the book from a mom friend when I was explaining to her the differences between my firstborn and my second. And I was like, this is way more than just boys and girls. I was like, this is much deeper. So she just kind of smiled and I was like, I have a book for you. Of course, I was super excited because I'm already an avid reader, but I was starting to feel defeated because one, I had never met a spirited child, let alone raised one. So I was looking for suggestions because everything that I knew was not working. And I knew I needed to go outside of myself and outside of what I knew. And I just felt like this rush of relief because it confirmed that I wasn't doing anything wrong as a parent and there wasn't anything wrong with him as a child. Fast forward, and my son is about 2.5, 3 years old, and I picked up the book again because we were going through some changes. And whew, I really resonated more with the parents in the book. We had gone through very similar situations to those in the book, and I started to feel better because I knew I wasn't alone. I literally cried because I felt seen. I consider this book a parenting reference book. Like, I will always go back to this because I don't feel that enough people are aware of the characteristics or the traits or even the term. I had mentioned it to my pediatrician and he looked at me like I was nuts. So sometimes as parents, we need to do our own research so that way we can see the whole picture and better understand our children and therefore be better parents to them. Because trust, the way that I parent my firstborn is not the way that I parent my secondborn. The strategies that work for her don't work for my son. The language that we use for her does not work for him. So what exactly is a spirited child? So in the book, Mary Kurchinka talks about how she used to use more of like negative labels when describing her child, stubborn, strong-willed, or difficult. But as she started doing more research, she started to notice that even her husband had a lot of the same traits that her son did. And as an adult, he was able to shift those character traits into something else. But she saw her husband as energetic or sensitive or passionate about what he was doing. So the definition of spirited is lively, creative, eager, and more of a strong, assertive personality. We don't want to break down that spirit or their personality and have them conform to what we think society wants. We really want to shift the mindset of those labels, and we want to encourage and support their traits and shift them in a positive way. I feel that the point of the book is to really encourage and support your child to the best that they can be with all of their traits. In the book, under each temperamental trait, there's a scale from 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest, and you're able to rank your child and see how spirited they are, if they're spirited at all. All right, so let's get into the temperamental traits. So first up, we've got intensity. And intensity refers to how strong your child's emotions or reactions are. 1 is a mild reaction. They smile when they're happy or they work through problems without being frustrated. And for 5, it's more of an intense reaction. They shout with glee or they're easily frustrated. My boy is intense. His emotions are very strong. He's very expressive, both in exciting times and upsetting times. He is full of zest and exuberance, and that's the fun part. Whenever he's excited or happy, it's fun to watch. But whenever he's angry and upset, he can wail and really carry on for a long period of time. But imagine them as adults. They can become passionate and committed and inspired through their enthusiasm. Next up is persistence. And persistence refers to if your child is involved in activity and it's time to stop, do they stop or fight to continue? So with the persistence ranking, 1 is they can easily be stopped and redirected, whereas 5, they lock in and they do not let go of the activity or the idea. Persistence in spirited children can definitely lead to power struggles because not only do they want and need power, they are seeking out power. They strive for independence. A lot of the time, they will be doing things that many other children their age probably won't be doing. This is a trait that can be irritating, when they're toddlers and preschoolers, but just imagine when they're teens or an adult. Imagine how much dedication they'll put into their hobbies. They are decisive, independent, and fully capable. And it's important to instill that into them now so that they are very much aware of who they are. Another trait is sensitivity, and sensitivity refers to how aware your child is of noises, emotions, taste, temperature, and texture. For this scale, 1 is usually not affected by taste or textures or sounds, whereas 5 is very sensitive to smells or tastes or noises. So these children may complain about the lights being too bright. They may be able to distinguish different food brands. Getting dressed may be a struggle because the different fabrics may be scratchy to them or the seams of their socks aren't lined up. So going into crowded places may be overwhelming for them. There's a lot to see, hear, smell, touch. And some children even pick up on the moods and emotions of others, not just children, but even adults. It may be frustrating now, but imagine when they're older and they're able to pick up on things that others might miss. Next up, we've got perceptiveness. So this refers to, does your child notice people, colors, noises, and objects around them? 1 would be hardly notices, stays on task, will walk right past an oil spill with a rainbow in it. Whereas 5, they're very perceptive. They may notice things that others might miss. These children might notice the lost balloon in the ceiling at the store, or they may notice when something new is added to a room. It's important for parents to keep instructions as simple as possible for perceptive children, just because their mind kind of wanders and they get distracted easily. And imagine their attention to detail, how beneficial that'll be when they get older. Next, we've got adaptability. And adaptability refers to how quickly your child adapts to changes in his schedule or routine. How is your child with surprises? On this scale, 1 is adapts quickly, is flexible with the schedule, or can move from one activity to another pretty easily, whereas 5 is adapts slowly, becomes upset when there's changes in the schedule or routine. They can get frustrated or fussy when one activity ends and it's time to start a new one. For these children, having a routine and a schedule is very important. Also, providing heads up or warnings to them will be beneficial. It gives them time to adjust and time to change. Some children do need that extra time, and therefore it gives you some breathing room, literally. You're not stressed and trying to rush out the door. You have that time set aside. Sometimes we even use timers just because it also creates a definitive end. Creating a routine and following through is imperative to our livelihood and my sanity. Now, let's move on and discuss the bonus traits. First up, we've got regularity. Regularity refers to if your child is regular with eating, sleeping times, the amount of sleep, and any other bodily functions. 1 is regular. They're hungry at the same time. They usually fall asleep around the same time. Whereas 5 is irregular, and they're hungry at different times and they never fall asleep at the same time. Next up, we've got energy, and energy refers to your child's movement. So is your child always on the move, or are they quiet? Do they need to run, jump, or use their whole body to feel better? 1 is quiet. They can sit and play for long periods of time, whereas 5 is very active and they're even moving while they're sitting. When my son was about 3 years old, we went to our local mountain, which is about a mile or so, and he walked the whole thing. He walked all the way up and majority of the way down. He was totally fine. Wasn't like, whew, mommy, I'm so tired. No, he was like, I need a break. And then once we got to the bottom, he started running to the car. You just did 2 miles and you were still ready to go. But that's when we realized that he just has a lot of energy to burn. We have an indoor trampoline because he needs to release that energy when it's cold outside or when it's raining outside. We need to have an alternative. We've already come to the conclusion that he's just gonna do sports year round because he just needs an outlet to release that energy, which is very important. If children don't release their energy, it's gonna come out in other ways like outburst or aggression, and obviously we don't want that. And next we've got first reactions. And first reactions refer to how your child responds when they meet new people or when they're introduced to new situations. So on this scale, 1 is jumps right in, or they don't hesitate in a new situation and they learn by doing. Whereas 5 is observes before joining in. They hold back before participating and they learn by watching. And last of the bonus traits is mood. And this refers to, do they seem consistently grumpy or cranky without reason? Does your child fit any of these traits? Because if they do, I strongly encourage you to get this book. The book really dives into personality, sleep, meal times, working with others, and just life in general. The book offers examples of children of all ages and personalities, and it has solutions for any issues that you might have with your spirited child. This book is so informative and helpful and such a game changer because I used to feel so hopeless, and now I'm starting to gain my confidence in raising my spirited child. I can stand up for him, I can stand up for myself, and I can be an advocate for him because I do understand what's going on with him, and I do understand what works for him and what doesn't work for him. I hope that you are inspired to learn more about your child and maybe learn more about your parenting and maybe shift your mindset a little bit. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next Friday.